So we're at the CIPD Festival of Work today. Very exciting, lots of people. And we've just seen the keynote. So Peter Cheese, who's the, I think, outgoing CIPD chair, he always does a really good keynote. So he talked a lot about this, the inflection point in industry, and so much change, profound change, after actually years of profound changes in terms of things like COVID and technological changes like we've never seen before. So it does feel like, oh my goodness, the people profession, it's up to us to help create this new future that we see in front of us. A couple of things that stood out for me. He talked about this kind of increased pressure on leaders, and I think probably that comes from the combination of this increased expectation around visibility of leaders, so being on Slack or Teams or LinkedIn or whatever, and that coupled with the uncertainty of what's actually happening in the markets and in industry and in tech at the moment. So if you partner that need for visibility with that uncertainty, that's a lot for leaders to take on. So I thought that was a really interesting point. The other thing that I noticed, there's always so much when we talk about AI, and there's always so much about skilling and reskilling and upskilling and the need for learning, but it always strikes me it's something we've got to manage, I think, in the next few years, because there's not a right way to do anything and everything's moving so fast. And education or learning used to be, this is the right thing, here it is, here's some information, now you do it. And we don't have that because we haven't got the evidence base for things like AI and tech adoption and stuff. So I think what learning is and what skills development is, I think that's going to have to evolve as we experiment more, and we have to get into those feedback loops of finding out what works quickly, what is the impact of the choices that we're making in the workplace. So learning, I think, is going to go through a massive evolution in the next few years. I think the skill is going to be managing the uncertainty and still making progress and still collaborating and still looking at outcomes, but without knowing what the right thing is to do. So it's just really interesting times, I think, and certainly an inflection point, as Peter said. Right, let's go. So we just saw Alice Roberts. So she's an evolutionary biologist, and she was talking, it's lots of stuff about evolution, but one of the things that I found really interesting was her point about when it's been really difficult for human beings, the thing that has been really important is about the mobility of the workforce, that kind of cross-pollination of ideas, being able to kind of share learnings, and historically that happened when tribes went to kind of different geographical areas. And I think in organisations, I think it's that idea of being able to kind of create pathways for ideas to transfer from either one function to another, or maybe it's the idea of going between different industries, taking those ideas. So, if we think about AI adoption, for example, that's quite a challenging time for humans. It really is this sort of industry 4.0. So I think something that I'm thinking about is how are we creating those pathways, making that mobile workforce, and that kind of facilitating that sharing between industry and between human beings.
Testing.
It's interesting though, isn't it, if you think about the different types of workforces that are emerging, if you think about agentic workers and robots and the different kinds of non-human workers, what's that going to do to I suppose the way that we capture value and tax, I suppose, from workers at the moment towards pensions, national insurance. If the workforce changes as dramatically as everyone seems to think it's going to change, then, one of the things they were talking about HR technologies is introducing an inorganic worker tax. So you would split between organic and inorganic workers. So we are, as humans, organic workers, and inorganic workers being these agents and robots, because actually if organisations are building workflows where humans don't have the same amount of work to do, and that potentially means lots of people being laid off or restructured, then we have to, as society, find a different way of capturing that tax money. Inorganic worker tax, that would be interesting, wouldn't it? Nom nom nom. So we just had a really interesting talk from Gavin McQuillan, who's the head of learning and development for NatWest, and he was talking about a programme of work that they'd just done for their leaders around AI. So I thought this was a really interesting concept. They talked about the contentless course. So rather than having a programme of work with lots of content to learn, the contentless course was just about getting people together for conversation and experimentation, really, and it was just giving them the space and the confidence to go out and try things, come back together, report what had happened, learn together, and just have those discussions. So really creating the space for that discussion. So contentless course. I thought that was a great idea. Cheers!
Cheers!
Woo! So that's it for Festival of Work 2026? It is 2026. It was a good show, really good show. I think it was a bit smaller than previous years, but the main stage talks were really busy. I think that obviously AI, lots and lots of chat about AI, lots of chat about supporting people to experiment with AI, lots of chat about how do you use AI as a strategic enabler to the business, but also looking at it all through a people lens. So finding ways to work with your tech team and your people team together, and just experimenting and collaborating. It feels like we're in a period of massive change, massive flux. Don't forget about the longer term horizon, 2 years, 5 years, the choices you're making now. What is the impact going to be? But I think interesting times for the people profession. Bye. I'll wait for the plane to go over. Just talk amongst yourselves.